Ooh. Okay, we're live. Angela's here. Hi, Angela. Are you in the shot?
No, hang on, I'll move.
Well, no, I don't want you sitting right on top of me.
Okay.
Okay. What we got?
Call
About
again.
6.
No, I'll do it.
You got it? Okay. Julie's here. Hi, Julie. Hi, Carol. So let's just give everybody a couple of seconds here to get in. We got 7 people there. Couple of likes. Thanks for the likes. We are drinking champagne. Just straight champagne. Nothing fancy this week.
Well, technically it's not champagne.
Well, it's sparkling. It's Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, sparkling wine from Australia, Jacob's Creek.
So these are actually made by red grapes, but it's clear.
Oh.
Yeah, what they do is they peel the grapes and then they make a...
Oh. Peel me a grape, Beulah?
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Janet's here. Hi, Janet. And okay, so champagne and Walter's
Smart Pop.
eating his
Gouda
Smart Pop.
and chives.
Oh, Gouda for you. Gouda for me. Cindy's here. Hi, Cindy. Okay, so what are we going to talk about? Guess what? New topic. Not my mother. Okay, we're having problems. All right.
The problems have started.
Well, the problems have never gone away. They're just escalating to a new form. Now, so you know that my mother, we finally got her into a nursing home. Well, things aren't going so well there. She's throwing up and doesn't want to go down for meals. Although she told us the food is really good there and everything. And then last Sunday, because we weren't on Sunday because we'd gone to visit my cousin. We'll talk more about that in a bit. So I called her and she had thrown up and she was quarantined, supposedly. Well, of course, you know, in the nursing home, they take precautions because, you know, if she's got the flu or a cold or something like that, that's deadly in a nursing home. So they're very, very cautious about that kind of thing. So I tried to call her the next day and her phone was off the hook. I got her a phone and I got her TV set and everything set up in her room. And so I tried to call her. Busy signal. I tried to call her all day, Monday. Busy signal, busy signal, busy signal. And then I got busy with other things too. And I didn't call to the nurse's station. Can I push in your stool?
No, it's just that I feel short, considering I'm taller than you are.
Does that make you happy?
Okay.
Okay, fine. Jeez, what an ego. So anyways, I called over on Tuesday and it was still busy. So I knew she'd left it off the hook. So I called the nurse's station and the nurse went in and she said, okay, I can't find her phone. So she's looking around. She says, do you want to talk to her on, like, all the nurses have cell phones kind of a thing for in there. She says, do you want to talk to her while I try to find your phone? And I didn't want to tie up their phone line because other people are trying to get a hold of them, especially when my mother has a phone. And I said, well, no. I said, just, you know, the phone's got to be there somewhere. She found the phone. It was underneath my mother's pillow.
I wonder why she did that.
How did that happen? Now, I could understand if the phone had been on the floor because she dropped it under the bed, that kind of thing, right? Because she can't bend over to pick it up off the floor. I could understand if she had it tucked into the bed beside her and it got lost in the sheets, because she did that with the one in the hospital too. I don't understand how her phone got under her pillow. Well, I was
Unless
talking.
it was making a beep, beep, beep noise.
It probably, yeah, that's the other thing. The phone, when it's off the hook, makes that beep, beep, annoying beep, beep, beep sound, but that only goes on for so long, and then it stops that, but it's still off the hook. My theory is it was making that noise, and she shares a room. There's 2 other occupants in this room, and so she buried it under the pillow to muffle it. Now, why? Why all of this suddenly? Well, She called me. Okay, I got her this phone, but it doesn't have speed dial on it. Her old phone did have speed dial, and I had it all hooked up to, call my sister, call me, call my brother, that kind of stuff for her.
But
she never figured out how to use the speed call at all. So this phone, when I got it, didn't have speed dial. I figured it was not a loss because she wasn't using it anyways. I did program into the address book that's in the phone my number, my sister's number, my brother's number, and her closest friend's number. But I knew she'd never figure out how to use that feature, so I didn't even bother to show her how to use it because I knew she wouldn't. Also, she was complaining, well, she didn't know how to use this phone because it was different from her old one. It's not. It's exactly the same as her old one, with the exception it doesn't have speed dial. She'll make any excuse. So I said to her, Mom, when it was off the hook, when you want to talk, when the phone rings and you want to talk to somebody or you want to call somebody, you push the talk button. When you're finished your call, push the off button. They're opposite sides of each other, across from the big silver button in the middle. That's all you need to know to operate it. And make sure you put it back on the cradle so it'll keep itself charged up. So the other day, she calls me, and I thought, whoa, how did she do that? Walter thinks she may have memorized our number. Maybe she has. I'm not sure. But she never called. Very seldom did she call me when she was in the apartment. And she couldn't call me when she was in the hospital because the phone only went in. It didn't go out, kind of a thing. You couldn't make outgoing calls on it. But I thought, well, this is a good sign, right? She's using her phone. And so, I've got her a long distance package, the whole bit. Not that she knows anybody except my brother, long distance. Well, her best friends are sort of long distance, but it's the dividing line kind of thing. It's not that far away. But anyways, I thought this is good. Okay. So when we were over there this week, after I found out she was not quarantined, and we went over to visit her, her television wasn't working properly. I'm not sure what happened. Again, we've got that TV set up, so basically it's on, off, change the channel, and yet it was screwed up. Well, it took us a while to unscrew it too. She didn't know oh yeah, it's been like that. I don't know what happened. If I had a nickel every time I've heard my mother say to me, do this passive aggressive thing that she does, that, I don't know what happened. She'll have a short time in that nursing home because I'll kill her.
Hey, that sort of reminds me, it's off topic, but
What?
when I was a kid, the guy down the road always used to break the furniture and stuff like that at his house. So what he did was he'd set it up so that the next time his parents would sit on
It would break? Okay, well, that's actually kind of clever. But anyways, so, yeah, and then she tells me that they want her brace and her walker because the physiotherapist wants to try some things with her, like i.e. try to get her to move, and that. Good luck with that. So I got to take that over next week. But anyway, she calls me today to tell me she threw up again. She's quarantined. Well, she's not quarantined. They're watching her. I said, has the nurse practitioner come in to take a look at you? Well, no. I said, I'm going to phone the nurse's station there on the floor. I'm going to talk to them about having the nurse practitioner take a look at you. And, she says, well, we think it's the food. I said, well, why? Well, and we think it's with anything with tomato in it. Because the other time I threw up too, there was a tomato sauce on something. And this time there was a tomato sauce in it. And when I threw up in the hospital, it was because I had tomato soup with ravioli in it.
However, there were lots of times in the hospital I observed her eating the tomato-based soup.
So when I talked to the nurse at the nurse's station about all of this, I said, okay, to let you know something about the history of my mother. She has anorexic tendencies. And I explained to her why I said this. And I said, also, my mother, she obviously doesn't want to go down for her meals. Yeah, actually, the nurse brought that up to me. Nurse, PSW, whatever they are, on the floor. That she was putting up some resistance for that. Well, I told my mother, they're not going to wait on you. That's Not their goal. Their goal is to keep you moving. And that involves taking you down for your dinners, for your meals and stuff like that. And I said to my mother, do you think this might be psychological, Mom? Oh, she says, I don't want to go down for dinner tonight because I'm afraid I might throw up. And I said, Mom, I think it's a psychological problem. I think subconsciously you don't want to go down there, but I said what you're doing is you're creating a fear for yourself, and the more you concentrate on that, the more it's going to be real. And I said that's no good for you. I said I think you should go down and have dinner. If you throw up at dinner, yes, you'll be a little embarrassed, but I said they are used to that. You won't be the first person in a nursing home who upchucked her cookies during a meal. They're used to it. And, so I said, but if you continue to fear this, then you're going to immobilize yourself. You're not going to go down for meals and that. And I said, what are you going to live off of? Oh, they bring me lots of stuff. There it is. There's the rub. Okay? It's the I want to be waited on, like in a 5-star hotel. And you know how many times I've told my mother she is not in a 5-star hotel. They're really good there.
You also like to be sitting in the hospital and having them bring her food to her.
So, new game. So I called my sister because I knew my sister was going over there today. And so I called my sister to see what her scoop on all of this was. Well, yeah, some of it was the same, but there were other little things that my mother didn't tell my sister or didn't tell me. And I don't know if my mother thinks we're stupid and that we don't check in with each other. But we check in with each other all the time to make sure we're on the same page with what's going on. The only thing that I can conclude out of this is that she's creating a scenario where she thinks in her imagination that we're going to remove her from the nursing home and bring her to live with us. Not gonna happen ever. She can't walk. She can't toilet herself. She cannot bathe herself on it. Not gonna happen. Do you see a little white hat on this head and a stethoscope around my neck? No. No. Not going to happen. I'm at the breaking point. And if you watched my vlog on Monday, you heard all of that, so I don't have to go on it again. I'm going to start looking after myself. I'll go over there once a week. I may or may not tell her when I'm showing up. I will call her on a regular basis. But if the words out of her mouth someday, if she turns around and says, you put me in here, I shut down. She put herself in there, as you know, from past discussions we've had. I did not put her in there. And if that's what she says to me, well, I'm sorry, this is going to maybe offend some people, but she is a selfish bitch. And I don't have to put up with that. And I'm not going to. It's physically and mentally affecting me now. Not going to let her wreck my life with this. Sorry if I'm yelling, but you can see what state I'm in with all of this. And so I will continue to look after her finances, but I will walk away. I will go and visit her once every blue moon, possibly call her. So she never wants to say that to me, because that will be the straw that broke the camel's back. So anyways.
Well, the funny thing with her and her own mother is that she practically never visited her when she was in nursing home.
Yeah, no, she never went to see my grandmother, her mother. She never had to deal with anything. My grandmother planned every stage, because she was a widow at a very young age. My grandfather, her husband, died in 1959. I was 2 years old. She had to go out, got herself a job, worked for 20 years. She traveled a little bit. She had a good friend who sadly passed away, and that really wrecked my grandmother because they were really close. She sold her house, moved into a senior's apartment in her town. She then made arrangements to move into sort of a senior's, what would you have called that, residential kind of place she was? That wasn't good. Okay. All right, sorry about that. Is everybody with us still? You just hit the big fall. I got to get a new thing because this suction cup doesn't suck
Well, not
anymore.
only that, it's right where you're putting it on. That the countertop isn't very suckable. Anyway.
Well, you'd know. Okay. Little comic relief here. Make sure. Okay, everybody's still with us? Yep, still here. Okay. Walter loved it. Falling off the ledge. Yep, okay. So it's welcome to the Walter. Okay, are we back? Oh, it's going to be that kind of day, is it? It's already been a day and a half. Okay, can you see us now again? We lost the connection for some reason. Back. We're back. Okay, great. Sorry. I don't know. This has been like the third week in a row where we've had this connection problem, and I don't know what it is. YouTube did some changes. Again, I don't know if it has anything to do with that or what, or if it has to do with our internet connection or whatever it was. But anyways, okay, so now I'm completely off track. Anyways, let's get off my mother because, yeah, let's just get off that. And let's just see what everybody's saying here. Catch up now. We've got 24 people on here. And I said hello. Hi, Kathy. Kathy's here. Anita's here. Hi, Anita. Audrey. Hi, Audrey. Hi, Debs. Hi, Andy. Or no, Tracy. Sorry. Anybody else I've missed? Hi, Chuck. Oh, hi, Virginia. And Cindy, I think I've got you back. Okay, so we're just... I think I've got you back. Okay, so we're just talking about my mother. I'm just seeing what comments you're at. Tracy says, your feelings are valid. Deb says, totally understand, Stephen, you do right. Nia says, take care of yourself. And... it was like falling off a ledge, we just did. Oh, Cindy says, laugh out loud, you're yelling too loud. Yeah, I may have proceeded with that. Angela's still here, we're back, okay. Chuck says, tis healthy to relieve yourself of the frustrations.
Yeah, but before we went on, you yelled at me for about 10 minutes. And
I didn't yell at you. It's just everything's been very frustrating lately, and I'm on edge. What's that? I'm a donkey on edge here, like from Shrek. But anyways, Anita says they had a huge family Thanksgiving last night. So Anita, that's 1 week early, isn't it? Like from when officially your Thanksgiving? Isn't next Thursday American Thanksgiving? Let me know. I might be confused about that. And thanks for the email too, Anita. I sent you an email back. So anyways, that's about my mom. Stay tuned. You'll hear more. For sure you'll hear more. Sorry to bog you down with my problems. And speaking of other problems, so this afternoon, I'm taking the Sydney bag. They call it the Sydney bag class. It's a satchel kind of thing. It's a fairly complex bag to make. I'm taking a class. And I'm making it out of denim. So, denim is, pretty thick material. And so there's this one part that we did last week in the class. It's a cargo pocket, and you have to kind of double up the fabric. Actually, it's a triple layer of fabric. And you have to do a stitch across it. There's a gusset kind of a thing. My sewing machine, my new one, can't handle it. I tried it on my big machine. It can't handle it. The needles will go through. I'm using a denim needle, and I'm using denim thread, jean thread or whatever, with it. The needles will go through, no problem. But it's the feed dogs aren't pulling when you get to where this material is stacked up, pulling it through. I've tried adjusting the tension. So I finally went up and tried it on Walter's machine, which is my new old machine, which is, according to where I bought it, it's as close as you're going to get to an industrial machine as a domestic machine. So I couldn't get to go through that. I tried other things. Walter, of course, did some research just before we went live and found there's this foot. It's the A foot in our stuff, and it's got a little knob on the side with a little spring. Now, I've always wondered what that was all about, why that's there. Well, he found a video. Apparently, it's for the problem that I'm having. I haven't tried it yet, but I will. But apparently you get up to this thicker part of your material that you're going over, and they demonstrated it on denim and in exactly the same configuration as I have on this pocket I'm trying to sew. And you push in this button on the side of it, and it lifts up the foot, and now it can
The back end of the foot.
back end of the foot, so it can ride over the material, and then when it comes down off the hill, kind of a thing, it snaps back in place. So there may be hope yet. Of course, the person that's instructing me in this class, she didn't mention anything about this. She didn't tell us what foot to use. In fact, she told us just to use the open toe F foot for top stitching and stuff on this. She never mentioned this foot whatsoever. So if this works, I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to say, look, I paid you money to take this class. I expect you to tell me what I need to know. Because I went through a frustrating weekend trying to get this thing to work. And right now, I don't need to be frustrated anymore, because if I am, I'm going to go postal on ya. Now, that's how it works out in my head. In reality, that's not what will come out of my mouth, but it's what I mean. Okay. But anyways, so that was another frustrating point. What's another frustrating point this weekend? Oh, yes, yesterday's embroidery class. Yeah, we made a wine tote, or we're supposed to. We didn't get it finished. The instructor has too much on her plate. Everybody wants her attention. So...
Plus, she's crammed too many people into your one class.
Yeah. It's a small classroom. I've mentioned that before. It is starting to frustrate me a little bit. I love this person. I think she's a great person and the whole bit. But I think there's just too much on her plate all at once. And I'm sorry. Nobody can multitask, including women. Okay? Not being sexist. I'm being realistic. People talk about multitasking. What was the expression you used about multitasking?
I said it's either doing one thing right or two things crappy.
And the more you add to your plate,
Or
the more
three
crappy
things
things
even crappier.
crappier. So, no. And there's a couple of other people in my class that are getting a little frustrated right now, too. I can usually figure out the problem. Actually, several of them are having problems with their machines for what we were doing. And the instructor was busy somewhere else. I went over and helped them because I had had the same problem, but I was able to figure it out. But I went over and I helped them. I'm not the instructor, but they were getting really frustrated. So, and I understood what their problem was. Now, this isn't to say anything negative about the lady who's teaching us this. It's just that she's got too much on her plate.
Plus, she's a little disorganized.
Yeah, she's a little disorganized. And okay, that's a pet peeve with me. There's two things in the world that'll get my goat: inefficiency and being disorganized. Can't stand either one of those two things. So that's just me, though. You know.
Well, I don't like that either. I mean, like I said earlier, we were at breakfast. We went out for breakfast, and I said earlier, not just what we were he was talking about breakfast, but well, I lost my train of thought.
Oh God, we do this a lot now.
No, I said earlier about what we were just talking about.
I don't know. Well, we're talking about inefficiencies and disorganization.
Well, no, I know. I said okay. I was saying when I used to work, and then I'd have to prepare for a meeting or something like that. I couldn't be inefficient. I had to make sure I had all the parts of stuff that I needed to go into the meeting with. So I always had to plan ahead and get everything done. Well, these people that teach these classes, it's in some cases, like with classes you're taking, the class starts and she hasn't prepared for everything for it, right? To my best knowledge, you should have everything prepared in advance to do the class, not suddenly try to do it at the time the class starts.
Well, that's what I mean. She's doing too many things at once. I mean, her store's gotten really busy lately. It's always been busy, but there's two places, and I think I mentioned
Actually,
this before.
Three places
that have gone out of business in our area. She is it. So everybody's coming to her. On any given day of the week, the place is filled. Now, she has quite a few employees in there, but everybody's busy, 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 and it's a small store. So I get it. It isn't a criticism of her so much as it's a criticism of the situation that she finds herself in, and it would be difficult for anyone to handle that.
Not only that, she runs the classes when the store is open, and they have product in the area where they're teaching, so they have people wandering into that room all the time.
And because the classroom is small, and there's also bolts of fabric in there as well. Seems to be a real run these days on gray, because a lot of the gray and white and black fabrics are in this classroom. Well, we're so crammed in there, and we have everybody's got huge bags that hold their sewing machines, especially for this class, because everybody has an embroidery machine.
And they're huge machines.
And they're huge machines. Like mine weighs 40 pounds, okay? I mean, it damn near kills me getting it into the place. So you've got all this stuff in there, and there's no room to move. And so someone comes in to look at fabric. And I feel for them because they don't want to interrupt the class, but at the same time, they want some fabric, right? So we're all shifting around so they can look at the fabric and whatnot. Some people are a little bit more polite and considerate than others. There are a few that are bulls in a china shop and just plow their way through as though it's their God-given right, but whatever.
Yeah, I was taking a class. She has all her zippers in the back, right?
Yeah.
So one woman was standing there going through zippers. My bag was in the way. I moved the bag, and she goes, "Oh, thank you." But she didn't say. She could have said, "Could you move your bag," or something like that to me or something. But they just ignorant, and they just
stand there and look like. Of course, you're one to talk.
What?
Well, I've said to you before, you'll stand there, someone's blocking your way in an aisle in a grocery store or something like that, and I said, well, just say excuse me and walk by them. So, I don't know. Whatever. So, anyways, that's kind of a frustrating situation too. So the week has been a very frustrating. So we were making this wine tote. We had done this embroidery on the front of it. We didn't have a pattern for how to finish the bag or anything. She photocopies us a pattern that she thought she'd already given to us, and she hadn't. And she charged us $2.50 for a photocopy, which kind of irked me with that. She very quickly, at the end of the class, explained how you put the bag together, but it involved, like, lots of them in the class have never made a tote bag. I have, so I knew what she was talking about when she talked about boxing the corners. But then we had to cut out handles. She gave us a template she had drawn by hand, kind of a thing for this. And then we're supposed to put garments. You know, the rings, like, in it, and but no explanation of how to do those. So this morning, I get it out to finish it. Now, I looked at the pattern or the instructions. Horrible set of instructions. I decided to, and they did not follow what she had suggested we do. She suggested we make it into a tube kind of thing and turn it inside out and do that. Well, I kind of, again, knew what she was talking about. I decided to do it my way, which didn't turn out very well. And I was trying to figure out these handles because I had raw edges. And this material we were making out of, it was like a heavier material, but it was fraying like crazy. Just strands and strands and strands. I don't know if the fabric had been cut the wrong way, but it's the way they had cut it in the store for us, and it's the way she laid it out on, she used my machine as an example, and laid it out on my hoop and the whole bit in one way, and so that's the only way you could work with it. So I thought, okay, let's get fancy. Let's do a satin stitch all the way around it. Well, I've never really done a satin stitch on my own with the machine. I mean, if I've done any satin stitching, it's because it's been programmed in for an embroidery pattern. But I tried it. I went around those handles about 4 times, and I still don't like the way they look. They look amateurish, to say the least. I figured out how to put the gormets in, but I'm not happy with those either. So
Well, you run the top through the serger.
I thought of that. But I wanted to do, like the serger though is all set up with blue and green thread. Well, it would work okay on that bag, but I thought about doing that with the serger too. But I didn't. I wanted to try this other thing. So, I mean, the way I look at it is I don't expect out of these classes to come out with a perfect product. I expect to learn from my mistakes from it, and then in the future, if I do this project again, I will know how to do it and possibly get something that's a little better. That's the way I look at it. But a lot of people don't look at it that way. A lot of them expect to come out of the class with a finished product that's close to perfect. And I think that's just setting yourself up for failure with it. But it's going to be interesting next week to see what people did. I know there's a couple of guys in there that they have never done a tote bag. They don't know. They hardly know how to use their sewing machine. So one of these guys was very frustrated, and this is only the second class, right from the beginning. And next week I think is going to be really a testy time because she's having a Black Friday sale that she has all weekend long. And somebody asked her, well, are we having a class next week? Because you got this all going on. Because it'll be a zoo, for sure. It'll be definitely a zoo in there. And she goes, oh yeah. So now what we're doing next week is actually not difficult to do. We're doing a freestanding lace pattern that makes an angel that, you know, you glue the wings onto it, like you make it all in this, like a lacy kind of thing, and you stiffen it and whatnot. I have done something like this before, so I kind of know what's expected. But we'll see what happens. I'm afraid there's going to be a few people in there, and I hope one of them is not me. Might just explode. But anyways, yeah, that's the kind of week it's been. So, what's everybody saying? Lost your back, yep. Deb says, love you guys. Laugh out loud, you're so funny. Didn't mean to be. Whatever. Carol says, did you try a walking foot? I thought about the walking foot, but because of the height of this, even the walking foot I don't think would get over. But now that we have found this video about the other, I'll give that a try and hopefully that'll work. If it doesn't work, then when I go to class, they're going to say, show me how to do this. This is what I'm paying you the big bucks for. Anita says, yes, but getting everyone together is hard with in-laws and outlaws, so we do big family early on. Thursday, there will only be 5 of us as we eat out. Oh, okay. So that's...
Oh, that's right. She said that. She said they were going to go eat out on.
Yeah, that's okay. Right. Okay, I get it. Okay. Chuck says, Walter will be your rock. Count on him. Rock of Ages. Gibraltar.
Well, I've been through the nursing home stuff before with my mom, but it was different.
But your mom was different because your mom had dementia to start with. She had a permanently broken leg, and she was blind. So
no, she didn't have a permanently broken leg until after she was.
Oh, well, whatever. But, I mean, that was a different situation. My mother's case is, and we're back on my mother, so I don't want to keep going.
No, anyway.
But anyways, my mother's of sound mind. Too sound a mind. That's the problem. Anyways, oh, Anita says, Stephen, your voice and video are not in sync. I'm watching it here on my phone, though, and it seems to be all in sync here. So is it still like that, Anita, for you? Anybody else? If it's just you...
How do you know it's in sync? You don't hear the voice on your phone. And you don't.
I can watch my lips move.
Yeah, you can watch it, but you can't hear anything. Yeah, you can watch it, but you can't hear anything. Okay.
I think it's working fine.
Okay, I think it's working fine.
I'm in sync. Are you happy now?
I'm in sync. Are you
So, Anita, I was going to say, if you're still having that problem, just refresh on your browser, and you might be okay. Chuck says, Stephen, you're the ultimate teacher, a blessing and a curse. Yep. Chuck says, oh my God, you don't need this. Virginia says, oh my, Black Friday classes. Oh, Laura's here. Hi, Laura. I watched your video earlier today with you doing your paint pouring. And yeah, it's messy, as you were saying in the thing. Yeah, good idea to get yourself some cheap gloves. If you go to Costco, if you've got a membership, you can buy a box of 100 of them for about $10. Or
You can also buy big boxes of them at Home Depot and stuff like that.
yeah, they're not that bad in price. Yeah, everybody says everything's working fine at their end. So, yes, but Anita says, yes, still out of sync. Okay, Anita, try a refresh because that's the only suggestion I can give you. Phyllis says you're in sync. Problem on other end. Okay. All right, so anyways, what's coming up on my vlog? I have a little video clip of what we're going to talk about in a second, and that was we went to the tree lighting from City Hall at the art gallery on Friday night. Now, I think we mentioned this before, that we had bought tickets a month or so ago for this event. They were having a vendor's market, like an art market in the art gallery. And upstairs in the art gallery, they have what used to be a restaurant, but now they just use it for special functions and things. But it has huge windows that face out towards City Hall, and that's where they're doing the tree lighting and everything. So for 20 bucks, you got a front row seat, and they had like freebie food, and they had a cash bar. Actually, I'd rather it had been an open bar and you had to pay for the food. But anyways,
Actually, and the food wasn't bad.
no,
this time.
they changed places where they got it from before. So yeah, it was okay. It was a bit on a dampish, drizzly kind of night here because we just had snow. And
The first snow actually has stayed.
yeah, it actually has stayed. We didn't have a lot of it, but it's still here. And we don't usually get snow until, well, you never know when
Closer
we're
to
going to get snow.
Christmas.
There is no
But-
norm anymore.
Yeah, we've had it where we haven't had snow until after Christmas.
Yeah. But anyway, so it did. And yeah, we saw them light the tree, flicked a switch. Wow.
Yeah, I saw it go on.
Yeah, I did. But I did do a short little video of this whole evening, and I'm going to put it into, because I can't put it in when we're doing a live broadcast, so I'll put it into my vlog tomorrow so you can see it. And I also did a short little intro video for my vlog, a little teaser showing our snowfall as it happened as well. So anyways, that was okay, but was it worth 20 bucks? Probably not, but it was something to do. So next weekend we are there volunteering because they do their big fundraiser of the year where they auction off a lot of artist quality photography. And, excuse me. So we are registering paddles, and Walter's spotting people who are bidding with these paddles and all that kind of stuff. So, and probably cleaning up dishes, and because it is an open bar that night and food, and it's fairly elaborate buffet that they do, like, you know, nibblies, cheese and things like that. But they kind of,
Well, last year they had servers come around, remember?
oh, that's right, to take your, to bring you a drink or whatever.
No, it was that, and it was also, they had food, remember? They had
Oh, yeah.
sliders. And
Oh, that's right. They had hot hors d'oeuvres as well. That they came around with. So we'll be cleaning up dishes and things like that. But they're major. I mean, tickets are usually, if you're not a member of the art gallery, are 60 bucks a person. If you're a member, it's 50 bucks. Last year we went as paid
Customers.
patrons of it, but this year we're volunteers. So, anyways, so that's coming up. I already talked about our sewing classes. Well, how's your serger class going?
Okay. But this week, the one lady that's a bit difficult and questioning showed up this week. And the week before she had missed. and that was the week we were supposed to do napkins. And she waltzed in. She missed the class. She waltzed in and brought her napkin fabric with her, but had forgotten her threads. And meanwhile, the instructor, she's usually pretty, she doesn't say too much usually. She sort of laid into her and said, well, that was last week. That was napkin class. This week is pillowcases and table runners. And you haven't had, it's up to you to find out what you need to get for this class.
And good for her for saying that.
And she was sort of like taken aback a bit, and everybody's going, hey, tee tee.
Yeah.
Because, well, actually, what was stupid is she's also a teacher, a high school teacher, right? And you think that she would know that this is how things work.
Well, not all teachers are the same. So, yeah. Well, good for the instructor for saying that.
However, on the reverse note, the instructor half the time isn't prepared for the class.
We're talking about the same instructor.
Same instructor as the embroidery class.
Yeah. Hope she doesn't see this.
Well, too bad.
Well, we don't hate her or anything like that. We think she's a wonderful person.
But
you know,
there are shortcomings. There are rooms for improvement.
I mean, I don't want to criticize her too badly for this kind of stuff because this could happen to anybody. But when it starts to...
Well, she even forgets what she's doing on a class. She said to me last surgery class, well, by the way, what were we doing tonight?
Yeah, that's what I mean. She has too much on her plate.
And I said, well, you're the instructor. You're supposed to know.
Like, it's not a reflection on her as a person or anything like that. It's a reflection on the situation she is now finding herself in, which I think for possibly maybe the first time ever since she's opened the store.
Well, not only that, last year she had one lady that was basically the manager, store manager.
Yeah.
And she did everything. Whereas now this lady the store owner is doing all the things that the manager used to do.
It's just too much.
And it's too much for her.
It's just too much. She's just getting overwhelmed. That's what the problem is. It's not her ability or inability for anything. It's the fact the situation is such that it's becoming overwhelming.
Not only that, she found out there was a lady that was working, a new employee that was working in there, that she was grooming to be the new manager. Mm-hmm. And she was told on last Tuesday that this lady's husband is being transferred and that she would be quitting in January.
Yeah, so that's put another stress level onto her as well.
And she has other employees, but the other employees I don't think are okay. They're okay as employees.
They're nice people.
But they're not really management material.
No, and they may not want to be management material either for that. But anyways, we're back to that again. Okay, let's move on. So my modern quilt class is going pretty good. There's only 3 of us in that, which makes things really neat. And I'm doing the throw size. The other 2 ladies are doing queen size, and there's a lot of pieces to cut out. So I'm a little bit ahead of them, but that's okay. Yeah, that class is fine. So I talked about the tree lighting. Okay, so last Sunday, as you know, we weren't on the air because we did it on Saturday because we were going to visit my first cousin. Scott's his name. And we were delivering my father's and his grandfather's, which is also my grandfather, aprons and rings from the Masonic Temple because they were both Masons. And he had been a Mason for a while as well. He still, I think, is affiliated with the lodge. But I'd asked him if he wanted these because I figured they mean more to him, being a Mason, than they don't mean anything really to me at all. I was never a Mason, never wanted to be. So, yeah, he said he'd like those. So we went down, and we haven't seen him since 2005. And that was briefly, and that was at his own father's, my uncle's, funeral. And there's been some estrangement between my branch of the family and him. And for nothing that any of us have done on either side. It has to do with our parents. And I really don't know what happened in those years, but I did find out as I was talking to Scott, who, by the way, went back to school, got his qualifications for doing things with the environment and water treatment and things like that, and seems to, be a fairly well-rounded person. He had a nice lunch for us when we went there. We weren't expecting anything, but he put this all together. And anyways, he had mentioned the fact about being blackballed by the family. Well, no, he was never blackballed. Not him. My mother had a problem, and my grandmother had a problem with the woman that my uncle married, which was Scott's mother. Scott's mother had been married before and was divorced and had a child from that relationship. So Scott has a stepbrother who now lives out in Vancouver somewhere. And Scott's 40. So he, I guess my mother, for some reason, had a big hate on for my ex-aunt. I was young when all of this was going on. Well, young as in I was in my early 20s. I was away at university. I didn't know any of this stuff was really going on. And quite frankly, when you're 21, 22 years old, do you really care? You know, you're really kind of self-centered at that point. I was trying to get through university and get on with my life. So I didn't know a lot of this stuff was going on. But it had nothing to do with Scott. And it had nothing to do with me or my brother or my sister. So, you know, the old expression, don't let the sins of the parent visit the child, or something like that, they say. So we had a pleasant time there, and we had another little surprise. He had said in his emails, we. So I didn't know if he had a wife now or girlfriend or whatever. Turns out he has a 4-year-old daughter named Michaela, and she's cute. She is a cute little blonde bombshell. She was a little shy to us when we got there, as 4-year-olds will be, but she warmed up real quick and became a true 4-year-old, really rambunctious. But she was funny and very polite little girl. Like, she would say please and thank you and pardon me. Like, her father said something to her, she didn't quite catch it, and she says, pardon? Like, so he's doing a really good job as being a father, and he has the custody of her. So I didn't know how to bring it up, you know, like, I haven't seen my cousin since 2005, so 13 years, and on top of that, we were never close to start with. So because of our age difference, I'm 21 years older than he is. So essentially, I'm old enough to be his father. That's scary. Well, more scary is that I'm old enough to be his daughter's grandfather. Even worse. So, what are you laughing at? You are too.
You're probably great-grandfather.
Oh, you just bite me hard right now. Yeah. You're 6 months younger than me. What's that make you? Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, we talked. I said to him quietly on the side, because also Michaela was there, so you know it's her mother, and you don't know the relationship. So I says, so is Michaela's mother not on the scene? She says, oh no, she lives in Belleville. This is a town that's probably half an hour east of where we were. And yeah, she visits her twice a week or that kind of thing. He didn't volunteer any other information. I take it that he was not married to her. I did check on Facebook, and now that I connect it with him on Facebook, I did see pictures, I think, of Michaela's mother. Actually, her mother in those pictures looked kind of hot. So, I don't know. But she has another child who's older than Michaela. So, I don't know.
Well, things happen.
But whatever, it's the modern day and age. But he's a really good father, which is nice, because his own father was not very good to him, my uncle. My uncle was an alcoholic. And yeah, it wasn't a good scene for him.
I'm sure it wasn't a good...
No.
And
you know, that kind of thing can warp you for life, too. I mean, I don't think my uncle ever physically abused my cousin when he was a little kid. In fact,
I don't think your dad was, or your uncle was really... No,
my uncle wasn't like that. And he wasn't a violent drunk. It was just my uncle had some emotional issues. He was divorced from Scott's mother as well. And I mean, I'm sure that all came about because of, you know, like my mother and my grandmother, it was all about my ex-aunt. She was the, you know, the green-eyed monster kind of a thing. I don't think she really was. I I'm sure she had her quirks too. Every human being does.
Well, she did marry your uncle.
But
so.
she did marry my uncle. But of course, my mother always said, well, she was a gold digger, you know. And yeah, well, she picked the wrong person to marry because my family doesn't have any money. So she thought there was going to be untold riches there.
Or, who knows, something else happened that rubbed your parents the wrong way that you're not a part
Well,
of.
rubbed my mother.
Yeah.
Not my father. I got all this from my mother at one point in time. So...
well, you know how, sorry, pardon me, I know a lot of women are listening, but sometimes women can be nasty towards each other. Like there was a lady, and this is off topic, but there was a lady I used to work with that was very voluptuous, good looking, and she dressed very sexy in the office. And the guys all sort of like, paid attention to her, right? Well, immediately the other women in the office just figured that she was like
slut?
a cougar or a go-getter or whatever you want to call it, or an slut or whatever, and that they said nasty things behind her back all the time, right? And then all of a sudden they got to know her, and they were buddies after that. Oh. But, you know, like it's first impressions and stuff like that. She may have said something or come across a certain way, and other people got their backs up at it. I don't know. I'm guessing maybe something happened with your aunt. Aunt would have been
aunt. My aunt, yeah.
Yeah, where it just rubbed a couple of people the wrong way. One comment or something, and then it stuck.
Well, you know, I think for my mother, it was a certain level of jealousy because there was only my dad and his brother that my grandparents had. They only had 2 sons. My grandmother was very, very controlling and no woman would have been good enough for any of her boys. My mother had, as far as my grandmother was concerned in the early days, my mother had stolen my father, had entrapped him because basically my mother got knocked up with me. And they weren't married yet. And it was the 1950s. So, you know.
Maybe she did.
Well, maybe she did. I don't know. But nevertheless, my grandmother always had sort of a semi-hate on for my mother. Although over the years, that I think either they got used to each other or that went, you know, it wasn't a big problem anymore. At least from my perspective, it didn't seem like a big problem. I don't know. But then when my uncle, who didn't get married until he was in his 30s, they figured that this woman, or my grandmother's theory was, she stuck her claws into him, entrapped him, and she's the one that got him to the altar to get married and the whole bit. And she immediately had a hate on for my aunt. My mother may have thought, oh, good, takes the pressure off me. I can seem like the good wife, and this will be the evil wife. I don't know. These are things that soap operas are made of. Whatever. I'll never know with it. And, you know, quite frankly, it doesn't matter anymore. What mattered more than anything was to make a reconnection with my cousin. Because I don't come from a large family. There are not many of us around in my family. And I do have other cousins, but it's decades before I ever see them again, and it's usually at a funeral. So, you know, I've never had like first cousins that, you know, were bosom buddies. Like some families do have that kind of thing. So, and we live not a long ways away, but
it was kind of nice to...
It was difficult to carry on a conversation.
Because so much time had passed.
Yeah, and also you don't know. He had a different perspective of the family than we have and the whole bit. You know, I would have liked, because I'm a very curious and busybody kind of person, I would like to know what took place with Michaela's mother and the whole bit. But, you know, if you're not volunteering the information, I better not pry, because that might be a sore spot, and it's none of my business, really. I would like it to be my business, though, but, you know, like, everybody loves a little scandal, but whatever. Anyways, he's a really nice guy. He's got it all together. and he's a really good father, a single parent kind of a thing. So, you know, and that's what makes me wonder why he's got custody, because usually the mother gets custody. So, who knows? But anyways, it was nice to see him. Mm-hmm. Okay, moving on. Chuck says he hates snow. Then don't come here, Chuck. Because you're not going to like it. All right, so...
Yeah, I had to shovel the driveway. I did actually shovel it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and so I didn't take the snowblower out.
Have you started up the snowblower to make sure it runs?
No, it's heavy. It was heavy snow.
But the snow was heavy, not the snowblower. The snowblower's heavy too.
Actually, I'll start it up. Actually, I think I did start it up a couple.
I thought you did back in about August. Yeah. That's always a good time to get out your snowblower. Okay, so let's talk politics just for a moment. Not about Trump. Not going to talk about Trump. Don't need to. We're going to talk about Ford. Our Ford. Does anybody get the reference? Anybody read Brave New World? Chuck, you've read Brave New World. I'm sure you've read Brave New World. Anyways, so our premier of our province, and you've heard us mention this before, he's an idiot. Just saying, but it's true. So he's now decided, he's always scheming. The fat piece of whatever. Our Liberal Party, we have 3 official parties. Well, we actually have 4, but the Green Party only has 1 member. He's head of the party. He is the party. So we don't talk about him because he's a tree hugger kind of a thing, and he has no hope in hell of ever taking control of the government. So we have the Conservatives and we have the Liberals. Or the Conservatives are the Republicans for the Americans, and the Liberals are the Democrats here. Okay, and then we have the NDP, which is kind of in between the two.
Well, no, actually, they're more.
Well, they're more left, I guess.
They're more liberal than the Liberals. They're
Yeah.
more Democrat. They're more. They're a little bit more social.
Yeah. Well, you've
They're
got
not communist, but
No.
they're very into very social programs. Like they would go for the universal health care and universal daycare and universal everything. So they would be. We already have high taxes. We'd have even more high taxes.
Yeah. I was just looking here, just an aside. People are saying about the snow they have. Precy says they have 3 to 4 inches in the Philly area. Catherine says, yes, got 4 inches in northern DE.
Delaware?
Is that
No.
Delaware? But Kathy, I don't think she was in Delaware. Okay, Kathy, what's DE? Tracy says, I shoveled a path for the Amazon delivery person and nothing else. I was lazy. But Kathy says hers was gone by noon the next day. And Tracy says, Ford should take a swim in Harper's fake lake. Yeah. Delaware. Yeah, Kathy says it's Delaware. Okay. So, anyways, Ford has now decided, okay, the Liberals lost the last election majorly. They'd been in power for 15 years in our province, and they blew it completely on this last election, to the point where they only managed to get 8 seats in the legislation, which means they lost official party status. To have official party status, you have to have a minimum of 9 seats in the legislature. So, earlier this week or last week, a member of the Conservatives, which is Ford's party and they're in power, resigned from the party. There was a suggestion of some sexual allegations, which seems to be everything. All politicians are doing naughties now, all the time, it seems. However, Ford has decided that he's going to put through a bill in the legislature that will raise the number of seats any party needs to have in the legislature in order to be recognized as an official party from 9 to 12 seats. Now, the reason he's doing this, although he's saying that no, mathematically it makes sense because it's 10% of such and blah, blah, blah. He does fake math. The reason he's doing it is he's afraid that this member that has resigned from his party will go across the floor, join the Liberals, and that would give them 9 seats, and they would have official party status. But if he raises it to 12, and although it's only the difference of 3 seats, they have a harder time trying to. The only way they could do it while this government is in power for the next 3.5 years is they would have to get other people from either the Conservatives to cross the floor and join their party, or come from the NDP. They're not going to come from the NDP.
Or for some reason, if an MP resigns, they may have a by-election, and that person would have to win in that area for the by-election.
Yeah, but you mean from the Conservative Party.
Yeah,
and would have to, up against that. So this just makes it a little bit more difficult, because right now the Liberals have absolutely no power in the House at all. The NDP is the official opposition, but again, it's a majority government because the Conservatives have the majority of seats, just like the Republicans before the midterms in the United States had the majority of seats in the House. Same thing for us. So basically the NDP can make all kinds of noises and criticize everything the government does, but when it comes down to the votes, they don't have enough to override whatever the Conservatives want to do. So he's playing dirty pool. And this is what we're up against. It is Trump-like politics as well. So that's why we're not going to talk about Trump. We have our own now. We don't need to waste our time talking about your idiot. We have our own idiot to deal with. So, karma? I don't know. So that's what he's doing right now. They just gave their financial statement. It's not the budget. And everybody's figuring, because you've been talking about finding efficiencies in the government because we've got like a $14 billion debt. Every government has a debt. Have you ever known a government that doesn't have a debt? It's just a way of life. And it's because of the Liberals that were in there before. And that's typical. Whichever government comes into power, they blame the financial mayhem on the party that just left out of it. So this is nothing new. That always happens. But now he was talking about all these efficiencies, which meant cuts. Cuts in all your essential things like education, healthcare, that kind of stuff. So everybody was pretty much preparing themselves for this, onslaught. It didn't happen. He really didn't cut anything at the moment. But this is just a financial statement. It's not a full-fledged budget. They will come out in the spring with their full-fledged budget, and then
that's when the cuts
when the cuts are going to happen. So he's giving everybody an early Christmas present. No real cuts. La-di-da. Whatever. Did you just...
No, I did not.
Okay, never mind. You have a tendency to do that.
You're smelling yourself.
Skunk smells his own hole first. Whatever. So, that's the news this week with it. Okay. Walter is pissed off at something, which also has sort of something to do with government.
Okay, we have two major highways that go through Toronto from our location. One's called the 401, which is always really, really busy. It's a public highway.
It's the busiest highway in North America, they say.
Yeah, like when you get into Toronto, it stretches 16 lanes across all the way.
Just saying, don't drive to Toronto, take a plane.
Yeah, like anybody that comes here that's not used to that kind of traffic is like in horror when they have to drive on that highway. But anyway, so the alternate highway that we have is 407, and it's a toll highway. So we have to pay a toll for that, which like, it's a nice highway to drive on. There aren't a whole lot of cars on it.
And most of them are doing 150 kilometers an hour.
And
like
there are definitely not a lot of trucks on it, which is a wonderful
bonus.
The 401 is always filled with lots and lots of trucks. And, but it's expensive to drive on. Very expensive to drive on. And I have occasionally taken it and said, okay, fine, I know it's going to cost me to drive on it and all this other stuff. However, we went to the Creative Sewing Show, and it's near the airport, and it's actually a very direct line to get to the 407 because we're really close to the 407 from where we live, and it's pretty much a direct line just to get to the airport. From there, it's the fastest route, right? So I thought, okay, I figured that it was going to cost me about $30 return trip on tolls to go to the airport, right? And that. But what I didn't realize is that they more recently this year, earlier this year, increased the rates. And the rates vary significantly between, what they consider prime time and whatever. But their distance, or is their allotment for what is considered prime time, is a big stretch as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, I got the bill this week, and it was $46.97 return trip on this highway. I looked at the mileage. It was 84 kilometers round trip, and for you American folks, that's 52 miles round trip for $46.97.
A little on the expensive side. So
needless to say, I'm going to be a little bit more careful about driving on there.
Yeah.
And that's the cheap rate because I have something called a transponder, because it's an electronic highway collection system. You get a bill. And if you have a transponder, they only charge you $1 to get on and $1 to get off the highway, right? And it used to be free if you had a transponder. Yep. The transponder cost me $25 a year to lease it. And then... But if you don't have the transponder, I think they charge you over $4 to get on and $4 to get off the highway.
Geez, I've never had to pay to get off.
So that's an extra $8.
Oh, you're talking about the road, never mind. A little joke there. Yeah, so a little bit ridiculous. Now, I know in the States, in certain states that you have a lot of toll roads because we've been on them. But we have never paid that kind of money, and we've gone a lot further.
We've driven in Florida and got the Easy Pass or whatever it is, right? And we've driven a lot on the toll roads in Florida, and then end up with a $15 bill or something.
And in New York State too.
Yeah, New York State too.
It's never paid that kind of money for.
I know that the 407 is considered to be the most expensive highway to drive on in North America.
Now here's the kicker. It was at one point owned by our provincial government, so our tax dollars at work,
sense.
Which they still made it a toll road with that. But it was a little cheaper. But then they turned around and sold it to a private company. And after that, there you are.
The private company just keeps jacking it up.
Mm-hmm. So, hi, Andy.
So it's getting to the point, it's a great highway to drive on because there's no cars on the road because everybody says it's too expensive.
It's too expensive to drive on. And that's just ludicrous with it. So, again, if you ever come to Ontario and you think, well, I will drive into Toronto on the 401, and then you see that it's all backed up, but you see the sign that says 407 toll road, a cutoff ramp to go to that, and you think, oh, I'll take that. It probably doesn't cost that much. Don't do it. You won't have a transponder if you're not from Ontario. They will still get you, and they will charge you a surcharge for not having a transponder. And it says, what it does is it automatically records your license plate, and it doesn't matter where you're from. They will find you, and they will collect. So beware if you're coming up here. Like I said, you're better off flying if you're going to Toronto, and take the TTC. Oh, that'll be a joke and a half anyways, that too. Okay. Basically, we're not long out of the dog sleds up here. Probably cheaper. And dogs are cute. Let's see. Anita says, wow, that's crazy for a toll fee. Yep. And Dennis, oh, hi, Dennis, says, those prices are shocking. And Andy's here. Hi, everyone. You pay a lot of tolls in Illinois. Yeah, we've been in Illinois, too. But it's still, not, or at least it didn't seem when we were there, like this. And we're not talking going hundreds of miles on
I
a toll
said
road.
it's 50, for
50
the Americans, 52 miles round trip
Yeah. So there you go.
for 47.96 or whatever.
Yeah. For a country that we pay a lot of taxes for stuff, we still keep paying for everything else too. Well, it's the way it is. So, moving on. Well, what are we watching on TV? Well, I just can't keep up with my TV programs anymore because I'm too busy doing other stuff as well. So I'm far behind on things that I was watching. And so things that we used to watch together, he just watches late at night while I'm sleeping.
I'm still watching The Last Ship. I started season 5.
Oh, so you found season 5, so you're doing that.
And
You're only
I
watching
watched
the
the
cute guys.
Haunted House on Hill House.
The Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting.
I only saw 2 episodes.
It started off good, then it was a little bit boring in the middle, and then it got really interesting in the last 2 episodes. So,
And I don't know, are we caught up on American Horror Story?
yeah,
Did we catch up?
we almost caught up on it. We still got 1 or 2 left to go.
I have been watching.
I think it's been a little better this time.
Yeah, I think it's better than. Well, yeah.
I don't know. I'm not real sold on American Horror Story anyway. because
Well, it's bizarre.
It's a little bit. I like bizarre stuff, but it's a little bit too bizarre for me.
Well, anyways, and I've been watching Sabrina. The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, the Teenage Witch. Which? I don't know if I'd recommend it or not. It's not what you expect it to be. I'm into it by about, well, I think there's 10 episodes in the season. And I think I'm up to episode 7. I don't hate it. I don't absolutely love it, but
That's how I am
I
with
don't know.
the Last Ship. It's okay. It's not outstanding.
yeah.
I'm not 100% sure why I'm still watching.
Because there's 2 cute guys on it. There's 2 cute guys on it. And I haven't seen this part. Well, the captain, I saw him, but then there's this wolf character or something that's supposed to be. And that's why you watch it, you pig. Really. Anita says, yes, my son was in Australia for a couple of weeks with the USAF, and months later, we got a notice from Australia that he had a speed cam traffic ticket. They tracked the license plate rental car to him.
Yeah, they have cameras on all their highways, and if you go, somebody said to us, you're okay 8 kilometers or 10 kilometers over the speed limit, but once you get past that, they take photos of you on the highway, and
they will find
if you're speeding too much, you'll get nailed. So one thing I've noticed in Australia when I was driving there, that everybody is pretty much driving at the posted speed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was true.
That was.
Yep.
You didn't find too many people speeding there.
Yep.
And that's probably because they know that they'll be caught on camera.
Yep. Carol says, Walter, this is the last season for Last Ship.
Yeah, I know that. I'll be happy. I know it's been okay to watch it, but it's not. Like I said, it's not outstanding.
I watched 2 episodes of it, and I didn't, just like what you said. I don't know. I haven't.
There's a lot of holes in the story too and stuff, and it's a bit hokey at times.
I mean, my source of TV anymore is basically Thursday nights. I have the PVR set up to tape the episode of Modern Family, Sheldon, The Big Bang Theory.
That's all stuff he watches.
And Will and Grace. And he's at the gym. And usually on Thursday nights, there's a friend of mine that comes over. We've been getting together for years on Thursday nights. He doesn't like them, so he's not. That's not really it, but well, maybe it is.
I can only take him in small doses.
Yeah, well, he is kind of, but I've known him for a long time. So he comes over. We have dinner. We go out. We sit in the hot tub. He drinks all my wine. I only buy the box stuff for him because I'm not wasting the good stuff on him. And then he toodles off at about 8 o'clock, and I come upstairs, go to bed, turn on the TV set, and catch up on my stories.
I have been watching Manifest.
Oh, yeah, I'm behind in that.
And I'm not 100% sure. I'm watching it, but again, it's not outstanding for me. So
Yeah, I don't know. But my main television watching anyway is about YouTube. That's what I watch more than anything. I usually have it going on while I'm sewing. So, so down here. So speaking of movies, we haven't watched any movies in a while.
no, actually, I wouldn't mind going to see a show. See Bohemian Rhapsody, and that was at the Harry Potter spinoff.
Oh yeah, the
Right?
mystical
But
creatures or whatever.
between me going to the gym and our sewing classes and stuff like that, we don't really have much of a chance to
No,
go.
we've been really
And-
busy at nothing.
And the shows that I always look at when the shows start, and I don't like going too late to a show. And a lot of them seem to be starting at 7:40. And if you get Bohemian Rhapsody, I think it's like about a 2.5 hour show.
Is it?
So
Huh.
it's but anyway, so
It's a night out.
well, we can always get it, when it's out on digital
Yeah, whatever.
or something.
Or
I
we
mean,
can go.
our TV sets are big enough that you can
Yeah.
enjoy them. So
Well, a lot of it has been that I've been preoccupied with my mother, but we're not going back
that
there.
too.
And that's, it does affect you. But anyways, let's not go there. Andy says, I love How to Get Away with Murder. I've heard of it.
Yeah, we saw that.
Oh, we
We're
just
still-
froze. Oh, great. Why does this do this?
And it always does it near the
near
end.
the end.
I read something about buffering or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something you need to do to clear out.
I don't know. Can you still hear us? Because we're frozen now. I watch people solving table puzzles, like puzzle boxes, Tracy says. Okay. Can you see us? Or can you hear us? Because we're frozen.
I read, actually, after it happened last week, I read something online and then I forgot about looking at it again. But there's something you need to do to clear up a buffer. or
Well,
something.
is it buffered on the iPad?
I'm not sure.
Or is it buffered in our modem? Which?
No, I think it's buffered on YouTube. Or it's buffered on the
They can.
iPad.
The people are saying they can hear us, but
Yeah.
we're frozen again. Okay, so this is the picture you're going to see for a minute because I don't think it's going to let up, but we're almost to the end here. So, anyways, I was going to say that on Netflix I watched a movie that's called Annihilation, which I guess was at the show at one point. It's an amusing little time waster, sort of sci-fi thingy, kind of, if you're interested. And on YouTube lately, well, last night we did a marathon of, if you're looking for something that's funny, watch funniest commercials. Because there are some really good ones that we don't get in North America that the Europeans seem to be a little bit more risque with what they show in commercials. So that's fun. I'm still reading the same book I've been reading forever. That Kate Morton thing. The Distant Hours or something. And what's cooking? Well, tonight, what are we having tonight?
Roast chicken.
Roast chicken. Oh, okay. But I thought you were going to do it with Spezzle and the...
Yeah, well, we have leftover spezzle from last week or whatever, and
So essentially we're scraping anything in the fridge that isn't green. Okay, out. And coming up, as I've already told you, is RMG Exposed, which is the auction of artistic photography. So that's next Saturday night. And that's about it. Tracy says Elton John a Christmas commercial was great, Stephen. Oh, okay. I'm going to have to look that one up. Okay, people. So since we're frozen, yeah, we're going to say bye-bye. That's our time for now. So thanks for joining us today. And, yeah. And I have to look into this buffer thing. Why we're getting this. All right, that me was telling us we got to be shorter on these lives. Anyways, everybody have a great week. And we'll talk to you next week. And don't forget about my vlog tomorrow. Bye for now.